of Arts in Guidance and Counseling. Just make sure you're in the right Zoom room. My name is Dr. Alan Dorcas, and my colleague, Mr. Denny Yeung is with us.
Hi.
So I'd just like to welcome you all. We will present the basic philosophy of the program and also the structure of the program. So how the program is organized, the different subjects that you need to study, and also the elective subjects. So let's get underway, and we can leave questions at the end. So it shouldn't take very long. I think maybe easily 30 minutes for presenting, and then we have plenty of time to answer any questions you have about the program in detail. So we are the Department of Applied Social Sciences, and this is one of many programs at a postgraduate level, taught postgraduate programs that we offer in the Department of Applied Social Sciences. For short, we call it APSS. Okay, so I am going to move to the next slide. So let me describe briefly the philosophy behind the program structure before we look at the structure. And this is, I think, one of the unique aspects of our program. We focus, I would say, mainly on this first ring in the center, if everyone can see, roles and intervention methods of guidance and counseling. What does this mean? This means specific interpersonal interaction with clients, skills that you may use in your practice of counseling and guidance. So it's very much the core element of how we do counseling is with an individual, with a couple, or with a family. That's the core element, roles and the intervention methods. How do you practice, right? Intervention methods. What approach do you use? What techniques do you use? So it's very specific, very detailed, and that's the core of our program. So many subjects will be focusing on this basic core level. The second layer is what we call social systems. So we also have not just the individual core, but we want to look at how the environment might affect individuals as well. So the program is micro to macro, looking a little bit at social context, right? What is the environment that might be affecting individuals? Because everyone is affected by their environment. We're not living in a vacuum. Cultural background might affect how a person behaves, what they think, what they feel. And at another layer, level 3, which is even more macro focused, is the social, political, cultural context even further, which might include social policy around providing mental health care, counseling within a Hong Kong environment, for example. Most of our subjects will be in the first domain, but we also have some subjects, even core subjects in domain 2, and maybe some electives as well. So that's an explanation of one aspect of the program. So it's very humanistic. We really, I think, draw many of our attitudes, our approaches to teaching, our approaches to counseling from a humanistic model. So very person-centered, client-based. Of course, we look at many other models as well, cognitive, narrative, Gestalt, to name just a few. But the core elements of our teaching philosophy is recognizing that each individual is unique and each individual has the ability to excel when given the conditions, the necessary conditions, the growth promoting conditions. So that's part of what we try to keep as a philosophy in our program. It's very evidence-based. Okay, so if we want to speak about I don't know, approaches that may not have been fully researched, then that will not be included in the program. So only approaches that have been already demonstrated to be effective, there's research to back up. This is evidence-based approaches. And as I mentioned earlier, context specific, so understanding how the local context may affect the way people behave, might also affect different issues that people encounter, the pressures, the fears, etc. And so this is also part of the program wanting to reflect what is unique about the Hong Kong context and how that can be addressed in the counseling experience. Okay, so that's the basic core philosophy. We'll move on to another slide, which goes a little bit deeper in exploring this humanistic quality of our program. So we really want to develop reflective practitioners. This means we don't expect you to sit and only listen to the lecture and then rehash what you've learned. We want you to reflect. We want you to listen to what you're hearing in the lectures, in the seminars, and we want you to use your own understanding. In other words, make it your own. So this is becoming a reflective. What you're hearing in class, how does this reflect to you personally? Does it allow you to better understand yourself, or to understand your family, your friends? Taking the theories and reflecting on how this has meaning for you personally. So go beyond existing theories and skills by innovating new practice and theoretical understanding based on this reflection, based on this personal journey of self-awareness. Very important, so that we're not just taking what other people say, but we're making it our own through the process of this program. So you'll be encouraged to not just repeat theory, but really develop your own understanding. Okay, cognitive practice, the ability to systematically test, reflect, and develop the theories that we will present into your own personalized theories in use. So this repeats somewhat what I've just said. Once you've reflected, once you've thought about it, you will develop your own personal understanding, and this becomes a personalized theory in use. So it becomes much more meaningful to you. It's not just something that you use from another expert, but it becomes your own unique understanding and way of helping people in practice. And this ultimately leads, or it's all linked together, really. This is a process where all of these elements are occurring simultaneously. You also need to practice. So through practicing psychomotor skills, right, you're going to be reflecting more on a very experiential level, right, what it means to be a counselor, your professional self. What is your role as a professional? How do you see your role as a professional counselor? And as you become more aware of your own unique style of counseling, everyone has unique strengths. Some people like to explain things, analyze. Other people like to listen and support. Other people like to challenge. Other people like to problem solve. So we want to take your strengths and transform your own unique qualities with theories that you learn through our subjects into your unique practice theories, into new ideas and new methods that reflect your own understanding. Okay, so that's basically the core philosophy, right? From micro to macro, and then really learning to develop your own unique style and your own unique approach to counseling through reflection, sharing, and through practice. You will develop these skills quite naturally through the program that we offer, the MAG MAGC, right? Masters of Arts in Guidance and Counseling. So it's a very holistic learning approach. And it really does focus on integrating theory and practice, right? Practice is essential. And so this is a very big part of the program, not just in what we will speak of shortly as the practicum, where you actually see real clients, but even in the lectures, you'll often be asked to reflect and to take the material to a personal level of understanding. Okay, so we want it to be quite humanistic and holistic in nature. So let's look at the design or the structure of the program. It's mixed mode. So our university has, for quite a few years, offered both full-time and part-time modes to the postgraduate degrees, the master's level. And you have the option to do it either full-time or part-time. Many Hong Kong residents who work during the day will opt for the part-time, right? But we have mainland students. We also have local students who can take a break from their work and do a full-time program. So we offer both full-time and part-time. The normal duration full-time is 1.5 years. So you need to complete within 1.5 years. So if you begin in September, you must complete by December of the following year. So for you, applying will be 23, 24. So if you begin September 2023, you must complete the program in December 2024. Okay? For full-time, this is for full-time students, 1.5 years, if you want to complete it quickly. It's challenging. There are many subjects in one semester, so it's very heavy. But if you're not working full-time, this can be an option. For those that are not able or willing for such an intense study, then we recommend a part-time mode, and this is 3 years normal duration. Some students will complete in 2 years if they are a bit more ambitious. But 3 years is totally acceptable, and it allows you to take maybe 2 or sometimes 1 subject per semester, depending on your study plan. So it's a little bit more relaxed, not so intense, and it does give you more time to integrate, to reflect, and to in Cantonese, we say you can just let it, what's the word in English? You can let it soak, or you can let it just, like making tea, right? Just slowly let it infuse might be a good word to use. So that's the 3-year program, and it does allow you to integrate a lot more. So we do have, even for part-time students, what we call the fast track. So that's 2 years part-time. Okay, like I said, even if you're part-time, you may complete in 2 years, but it does require you to take more subjects per semester. And so it is a little bit more intense. Okay, so just giving everyone an idea of what is available and what is possible. So how many credits do you need to graduate? You need a complete total of 30 credits. Okay, you'll get 15 credits from the compulsory subjects you must absolutely take, no choice, compulsory. So half of the credits are compulsory, and then half are through electives. So we'll speak of that a little bit more in the next slide. We do have the option. Sometimes students may encounter difficulties. Maybe you need to emigrate, right? There's been a lot of local people leaving Hong Kong in the past few years. Maybe it's not your decision. Maybe your family's moving. Maybe you get a new job. Maybe you are pregnant and you don't see the ability to continue. If you complete 21 credits, okay, so that's 5 core subjects, you still need to complete the core. And I'm counting quickly in my head, 2 extra electives, right? So that's an extra 6 credits, 15 plus 6, that gives you 21. You can exit with a postgraduate diploma in guidance and counseling. So this is an early exit for those that encounter some unforeseen challenge or change in plans. Okay, so like I say, if you have any questions, just take notes and we will have an opportunity at the end for your questions. So let's look a little bit more detail at the subjects. I mentioned there are 5 core subjects. So the first subject, which will be year 1, semester 1, theories and models. What are the different approaches, right? I mentioned a couple. We will look at psychodynamic, person-centered, Gestalt, cognitive, narrative. We'll look at solution-focused, some postmodern approaches. So we look at different approaches and how these theories may affect the way you do counseling, depending on your approach, which I often compare to a recipe. You will counsel people differently. Right? So you need to become aware of these different theories because they will affect the focus of counseling, the duration of counseling, and also how you conceptualize your case. Okay, so I won't say too much more about that, but that's one of the very important core subjects. Another very important core subject is individual group counseling skills. So this is more hands-on. There's only 3 lectures, but 10 workshops, seminars. So it's much more practical, much more experiential. So you really need to be doing skills on a weekly basis in small group role plays. So this is usually year 1, semester 2. Once you have some theory as a foundation, then we move on to practical skills in counseling. Advanced human behavior and social environment. So this goes into the domain 2, if you remember the first slide I showed you. So looking a little bit more at the social environment and how it may affect human behavior is addressing an understanding of how individuals work or behave or learn within a social context. So this is also one core subject, compulsory. Social context is also part of domain 2, and ethics. Very important to understand ethics in the social context and particularly in the counseling field. And finally, also developing an awareness of how to do an assessment in a counseling environment. What is the severity? You might be looking at assessing potential danger, suicide risk. All of these things may be part of assessment and measurement. And so these form the core knowledge base and skills in developing your abilities as a counselor, as a professional counselor. So that's 15 credits. As I said, 15, that's half of the total credits required is core. And then you have 3 electives to take. We'll look at the electives shortly after this slide. Now, at this point, you can also choose which stream you would like to focus on. We have 2 streams. We have the practice option, and the program coordinator will speak a little bit more detail about this in a few minutes. So those that are really wanting to develop the skills, not just knowledge, but really work with actual clients. We see clients and we have supervision. We call it live supervision every week. That means your supervisor will be with you, not in the room with the client, but in another room. They may be looking at the session through the video camera or not, depending if there's too many clients in that evening. But the supervisors will be overlooking your work in detail every single week of a 25-week practicum with clients. So that's the practice option. It's quite popular because many people want the practice. However, those less interested in practice, maybe people, for example, in the business field who are managers, may be more interested in exploring areas they may not become full professional counselors, then they can choose the research option. Also, people may be interested in using this master's as a stepping stone for doctoral studies, a PhD. So the research track allows you to develop your own research, a topic of your own choice. And that gives you a better standing if you apply for further research postgraduate programs like a PhD or doctoral programs. So very quickly, I'll explain a little bit more detail after this slide, but very quickly, you must take what we call practice research as one electives. So if it says 3 electives, one of those electives, if you choose the research stream, right, the research option, is practice research. So that's one subject you must take to develop an understanding of how to do research within a practical field, not fundamental research. So we won't be doing laboratory experiments, but practice research, how to develop protocols to explore issues in counseling. And then you also write up a thesis. We call it integrative project. It's an 8,000 word paper document, and that's another 3 credits. So that means 15 plus 6, right? So that's 21. And then you can also take, am I getting this right? 15 plus 6 is 21. Then you have another 3 electives to take. So I said something wrong earlier when I said if you choose the research option, integrative project is an elective. That's incorrect. I apologize. It becomes compulsory for you. So if you choose the practice option or the research option, you must choose integrative project plus practice research as a subject. And then you still have 3 electives that you can choose from. And same if you choose the practice, then you can also choose 3 more electives. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse anyone there. Okay, so let's look at the research. Well, before we do that, we'll look at the electives a little bit more detail, and then we'll speak of the research option in a little bit more detail and also the practice option. So electives are grouped in different categories. We have some electives around family studies. If this is an area of interest, then you may look at delinquency in family, violence in intimate relationships, evolution in family therapy. So these are elements that can be quite interesting if you find family studies your particular interest. Now, some of these electives come and go because each year we have potentially new electives, but generally they're quite stable. So the next category would be work-related. So we do have career counseling and also workplace counseling that are offered in alternate years. So if this year career counseling is offered, next year workplace counseling will be offered. And the reason some electives are offered in alternate years is because if we offer them each year, often we don't have enough people to sign up. And so it may get discontinued if it's under enrolled for more than two consecutive years. It can be discontinued. So we want to keep the subjects alive, and they're very interesting and useful subjects. So they might be offered in alternate years if the demand is a bit lower. And then we have the individuals with specific education needs, SEN. And so we have guidance and counseling for students with SEN, and also holistic and humanistic orientation around psychopathology with individuals who have SEN. Okay, so that's a third category of electives to consider and choose from. And then we also have clinical interventions. So this is specific approaches and skills that you will use in the counseling practice. Solution-focused brief therapy, cognitive behavioral, narrative. In Hong Kong, most people say narrative, but in the West, we say narrative. Mindfulness in counseling, which is relatively new. We've been offering this for about 3-4 years now, very popular. And expressive psychotherapy, each year it can be a bit different depending on the teacher, but you might look at art therapy, you might look at music therapy, dance, drama, depending on who's leading this subject. So it's alternative ways of doing counseling that isn't just verbal, right? It's expressive and more use of alternative means to help people work through emotional conflict or psychological difficulties. And the last category, we have evidence-based. I mean, all of them are evidence-based, but this is training to develop more an ability to do research, like practice research would fit into this. Social policy analysis and social accountability. So a little bit more theoretical, a little bit more research-based. So those are the 5 different categories of electives. And again, if there's anything that's standing out, if you're not sure, please take a note and we can address your questions later. So one last slide before we look at the research and the practice option. I think a lot of people are interested to know, does this give you any professional accreditation? Well, it does give you, well, let me say this, the program is accredited by the HKPCA, Hong Kong Professional Counselling Association, 香港專業輔導協會, 香港專業輔導協會. So that's a very, I would say, I don't know if I would say prestigious, but definitely a professional accreditation gives you a little bit more, I'm looking for my words, a sense of a community and also some professional credibility. So in the eyes of other professionals or in the eyes of clients, if you're an accredited certified counselor, then that can make you a little bit more appealing, or at least give people the sense that there's a greater professionalism and accountability. So our program is accredited. However, because the HKPCA requires a total of 450 supervised hours, our program is not able to meet that number. And so when you graduate from the program, you can become a member, right, a general member of the HKPCA. But to become a certified counselor, you need to complete an extra, you need to complete the 450 hours. Our program only provides 86.5. So you still have, I can't calculate quickly, my math is not very good, but you can make that out. And so our program is accredited, which means if you continue to develop counseling and seek supervision, then you can accumulate those hours and it will be recognized, and then you can apply as a certified counselor. Okay. So let's quickly look at the research option I've mentioned already. So there's not a whole lot to add here. As I said, once you choose the research option, then you must take this subject, practice research. So it becomes somewhat like a compulsory subject. You need to take it in order to develop, like I said, understanding and skills around developing research protocols, research questions, how to do the research. And then, so this is a taught subject, okay, which will help you with understanding what research is, how we do research if you're not already skilled in that area. And then you must write a project which will be under the supervision of a teacher, supervisor will be following you, right? And how you investigate, how you do the research. It needs to be a research topic related to guidance and counseling, okay? Off the top of my head, this year I have one student who's interested in looking at counseling for the deaf in Hong Kong. So what are some ways to develop counseling for people that are not able to speak? We've had people choose topics like attachment styles and psychological disorders. So looking at how parents develop attachment with their children and how that might affect a child's development. So that's a little bit more fundamental, but we usually have topics related to the practice of counseling and how to improve the practice. Last year, we had a couple of students explore mindfulness in secondary school settings. Is that something that could be implemented in a school environment, and what would be the benefits? So just to give you a couple of ideas of topics, it can be quite unique, and we look for a unique area to develop new knowledge that can help promote the profession of counseling. Okay, so that's the research option. Now that is a total of 6 credits. And for the practicum option, I'm going to stop sharing and I'll invite our current practicum coordinator, right, Mr. Denny Young, and he will explain a little bit more detail our practicum.
Okay, let me first share my screen. Okay, can you see my slides, my PowerPoint? Okay. In the rest of time, I'm Danny. Thank you for attending this info day. I'll try to explain a little bit more about the practicum. Okay, before I tell you something about the slide, I tell you a story. Suppose you have already studied the MAGC program for 2 years and you choose the practicum option. Now it's Thursday at night. You and 5 of your classmates are going to do the practicum. So about 6:30, you go to our practice center. Your supervisor is already there waiting for you. This is your 5th lesson, so you are quite nervous because tonight you are going to see your client for the 2nd time and you are wondering what to talk to him. He is a client from mainland, so he speaks 普通话, not Cantonese. His presenting problem is that he always feels himself to be quite useless. He cannot make big decisions. All his big decisions, even his big decision of going to study in Hong Kong, is decided by his family members. Okay, when you go into the counseling room and see your client, your supervisor is watching you from outside. You are quite nervous and you talk with the client for 50 minutes. Usually a whole section is usually 50 minutes and you go back to the room meeting your supervisor and your supervisor reminds you, asks you, how do you evaluate your performance tonight? And you say, I think I performed quite well. And your supervisors agree. But your supervisors remind you that, while you are doing very well, do you notice you ask a lot of close-ended questions? Now, for e-counseling, we prefer asking some open-ended questions, leave more rooms for the client to express. But in the beginning, you ask a lot of close-ended questions, yes, no question. Okay, this is part of my story is a snapshot of your practicum. Your practicum will last for 25 weeks, and it's just 1 week. Let me take a look at the slide. I always use swimming as an analogy of learning counseling. In the last 2 years, you study many theories, you read many articles, and you know the basic theories and knowledge of doing counseling. But now, but if you don't really go into the water, you cannot, you do not know if you really know how to swim. So practicum is the swimming pool. We will not put you in the open sea because it's too dangerous. You may get drowned. It's more safe for you to practice, to taste your swimming skills in a swimming pool under some supervision, under some lifeguards, under some swimming coach, the supervision of some swimming coach. Your swimming coach will see you, will correct some of your mistakes, such as asking a lot of close-ended questions. But you don't realize because you are too nervous. You focus on talking to your client without noticing you ask a lot of open, close-ended questions. So our practicum is your first opportunity to taste, to practice your counseling, to meet some real clients from outside. And your client is not necessarily Cantonese speaking Hong Kong people. It may be someone from another culture. So you have to learn something about his culture, your client's culture. And also in the practice, you learn how to uphold some important professional ethics, such as keeping confidentiality. Our practicum, there are quite a number of objectives, and it's an intensive training on your professional helping relationship and the helping strategies and the intervention methods. In the practicum, when you see your client, you can choose your counseling models. You can practice, you can try person-centered therapy. You can try narrative. You can try CBT, cognitive behavioral. But your choice usually match your personality. And the practicum is also a place for you to experiment your intervention method. You learn all these models from books, but how to put it into practice, you try it in the practicum. And the whole teaching is more in an experiential learning approach. You do it and reflect and improve, and you do it again and you reflect and you improve. So your performance in the 5th lesson may not be very good, but in your 10th lesson, you will improve. In your 15th lesson, you will do a lot better if you take the advice and the feedbacks from your supervisor. Our clients are recruited both from our own PolyU students, the bachelor's level, the master's level, the PhD level, our students, and also recruited from outside. Every year, we will send letters to schools, to NGOs to recruit clients. So there are young clients, young adults, if they are PolyU students, but they may be husbands or wives or some grown-ups from outside. And their presenting problem is in a diversity. We believe that only if you encounter a diversity of problem and you can have a real test of your counseling ability. And our supervisors are very experienced. We recruited from our experienced staff or from some outside sources. Some of them have many years of counseling experience, and now they are doing part-time to pass their counseling experience to you. So you are in a privilege to learn the many, many years of counseling experience from them. And just like Alan said, we use CCTV, so your supervisor can see your performance at the same time when you are doing your practice. Just this year, we renovate another site or another site of practice center. So altogether, we have 2 sites in our PolyU. 2 groups of people, 2 groups of students can do their practicum at the same time. And so every night, if two sites are running their practicum, we may receive as many as 12 or 13 clients at the same time, allowing 12 or 13 students to do their practice at the same time. So this is some of our counseling rooms, nicely renovated. And we do have our playroom. So although not many children clients come to our practicum, because it is at night, but we do have children clients, and you can try play therapy. We have playrooms. And these are the inside of our counseling rooms, nicely furnished. Our counseling session runs from Monday to Saturday. If it's on weekdays, Monday to Friday is at night. If it's Saturday, it's from 10 to 1:30. And you, depending on your availability, when you choose practicum, you can choose which day you attend. If you are available on Monday, maybe you join the Monday group. If you are available on Friday, you can join the Friday group. And we have 2 practicum arrangements. One, since our practicum is 6 credits, it means it is across 2 semesters. We have one kind of practicum that goes from semester 1, the beginning of semester 1, to the end of semester 2. So it's across 2 semesters. We call it Sem 1-2 practicum, S12. It starts from October and ends in April every year. We have another arrangement we call it S31, Sem 31 arrangement. It starts since June and ends in late November. So you can see 2 sites here. This is our leaflet to send to the outside to introduce our counseling program, to introduce our counseling service and recruit clients. Okay, it almost goes to the end of my introduction, and I hope you enjoy my story, and I hope 2 years later you will see your clients in our practice center too. Okay, Ellen, so should we go to the Q&A sections?
Yeah, sorry. I just need to add a couple of things, and then we can do question and answer. I'm just trying to find my PowerPoint here. I think this is the one. Or is this? Just give me a second to find. Yeah, so I just wanted to add a couple of things. The first thing is the language. I think this might be some concern. Most of our clients are Cantonese speaking. Okay, so I don't want you to feel too concerned if you are not fully fluent in Putonghua. Just give me a second. I'm going to pull up my own PowerPoint here. I'll just say this before I do that. So most of the clients are, however, we have an increasing number of mainland students, and this explains why we have more and more clients coming to us that are speaking Putonghua. So for those that maybe, I noticed some names here that have the Putonghua pinyin. So, if you are Mandarin or Putonghua speaking, there are quite a few clients that you can work with. If you are local Cantonese, but you're also comfortable in Putonghua, then of course, or English as well. So I just want to say there is a flexibility. I don't want to have you too scared about the language. But if, for example, you wait 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and we only have Putonghua speaking clients and you're waiting for the Cantonese one, then it might be a good idea to start if you have an ability. This year we have one sometimes strange situation where you can understand Putonghua, but you're not good at speaking it. And so the client will speak in Putonghua, but the counselor will speak in Cantonese if the client has lived in Hong Kong many years and understands, but isn't able to speak. So sometimes we have that situation happen. So that's one thing. I just don't get too worried about the language. The second thing is just a word for English-speaking students who would like to take the practicum. We need to have 6 students in order to have 1 supervision group. So the number of, let's say, non-local, but also non-Chinese speaking students that take our subject is quite limited. In other words, we might have 2, maybe 3 students each year. So if you expect to do the practicum at a specific time, it may not be possible because we have to wait for 6 English-speaking students to have a supervision group. So that's just one thing to bear in mind. We do have that particular issue. So just before we go to question and answer, I'm just going to share this again for everyone to see. This is something new this year that has been implemented throughout our department and perhaps the whole university. We are offering entry scholarships up to $80,000 for select applicants. You don't need to apply. When we do the admissions processing, students that stand out, that have very good achievements, can be recommended for the scholarship. And depending on the number of potential candidates, the amount might differ. But I just want to mention we do have this entry scholarship for those that might find themselves in, well, for those that have very outstanding achievements, you have the opportunity to receive this. So this is just the final general information if you need to email or telephone.